I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Hi, my name is Chrissy Clements. Everyone watches AccessTV.org.
Good morning again. This is Jonathan Small, host and producer of All About You, a program that's broadcast live at AccessTV.org studios in downtown Hartford. Again, this program is designed to give the guests a chance to give their life story. And this morning, I have a very special guest, a person that is the Senior Vice President of Corporate Outreach at ESPN, Miss Rosa Gatti. Good morning, Rosa.
Good morning, Jonathan. Thanks for having me here.
Okay, it's good to have you here. Pretty much, could you kind of give people out there your life story, where it got started at?
Well, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, was a sports fan, watching the Eagles with my dad and brothers and basketball. And I was a sports fan. Mm-hmm. When I went to college, though, I never contemplated a career in sports because women just didn't think about that at the time. This was 1972 when I graduated from college, Villanova. Okay. And I worked as a secretary in sports information and learned about sports PR and media relations, became assistant and then eventually director, which was very unusual at the time for a woman to be in that position. Then Brown University hired me a few years later, and while I was at Brown, ESPN was televising the NCAA Men's Frozen Four ice hockey championships, and ESPN was televising it.
Now, before we get to that stage, did you like playing sports as a child growing up?
I did.
Okay.
I was always, because of having two brothers, I was always out playing sports from baseball to football. And by the way, it was tackle football, not tag football. Okay. And also ice hockey. My dad would hose the driveway in the backyard when it was really cold, and we would play ice hockey. And I was more successful because I could stay up on my skates, and the boys couldn't.
Okay. Now, Philadelphia is known for having major league sports like basketball, football, baseball, hockey. Did you have a particular sport that you love rooting for?
I would say basketball mostly. At the time, the Big Five at the games at the Palestra were exciting. Villanova, St. Joe's, LaSalle, Temple, Penn. Really exciting rivalries. And we would watch those games. And I always was interested in how games were played. Like when we watched the Eagles, I would say to my dad, why did they call that penalty? So I was more interested in the strategies of the game versus the statistics at the time.
Okay. Now you say the Palestra, didn't they have the Spectrum in Philadelphia?
Yes.
That people know about?
Yes, that was the next big arena. So I'm talking about ancient history back with but the Palestra's still there, and which is on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania, and great sports town.
Yes, it is.
Great fans.
Now, Philadelphia is a real big city. My executive producer actually is from outside of Philadelphia, so it's a very big city.
Yes.
Do you love a big city, or is there any difference between this one city to the next?
I lived in the western suburb, right outside of West Philadelphia. And so I had the opportunity of living both in the suburbs but also going into the city. I like both. You know, I love being in Connecticut, Bristol, Connecticut, but I'm in New York once or twice a week. Okay. And I love the energy of New York.
Now, you graduated from college. What led you to a position at ESPN?
When ESPN was just starting, most of their events were in New England, and they televised several soccer games at Brown. So I got to know some of the producers. When they were televising the NCAA ice hockey, the founder was there and the head producer, and they told the president of ESPN about me. And the president of ESPN was looking for a PR person at the same time. So, you know, I had worked really hard, and as a woman, I was trying to prove that I could, you know, have a very successful media relations program for the event. and for television. And as a result of that hard work, they put in the word for me to the president of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing led to another. I had no intentions of working for a television company.
Okay.
It's just one thing after the other. And when you work hard, other people notice, and they recommend you.
Okay, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And you say as a woman, because mostly at that time, and probably still today, it's usually media is considered a male-dominated career.
Yes.
Did you see a challenge when you first got started at ESPN?
There were challenges, and as I look back, most of the people and men were very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But you would have a few people who were not as accepting of women in the workplace.
Okay.
And might not listen to a woman. That was the case, but it improved over time. But the majority of people were very supportive of me.
Okay. Was diversity real important back at that stage?
Oh,
or
wow.
was it-
Yes, I really give credit to our first president, Chet Simmons. He wanted to have women and people of color at the table.
Okay.
And so he purposely hired women, and particularly African Americans. He had hired Brian Gumbel when he was at NBC.
Okay.
He hired Greg Gumbel at ESPN.
Yes.
And several women he put on sports news, and that was unheard of at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Men did not want to hear women delivering sports news. We used to get hate mail about this. But this was a one time where the president of ESPN did not listen to the viewer mail.
Okay.
He said, we are going to keep these women on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then they grew in experience and credibility. So I really give him a lot of credit. And then as a woman, and knowing what it was like for a woman to be second guessed, I then tried to put myself in the shoes of other people and people of color. And as a result, I worked very extensively on diversity and integration in everything we do.
Okay. Now, you've kind of changed careers at ESPN over time. What was your first position again, and what was it like getting started?
I was director of communications. I was in charge of building the media relations aspects, so how ESPN communicated information to the public, primarily through the media, and that would be by press conferences, press releases. So I helped establish the policies and procedures for communications with my team.
Okay.
And simultaneously, I had always volunteered for charities and nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
So I also did community relations throughout my career.
Okay.
And as ESPN grew, then I grew the corporate outreach department at ESPN. And it's the company giving back in our communities.
Mm-hmm. Now, when did that exactly get started, that foundation?
Well, actually, our first charity was in the early 80s when ESPN, we were working very hard, but Special Olympics Connecticut came to us. So Special Olympics was our first charity.
Mm-hmm.
Then we were involved in several other charities, but the primary one was the one we founded in 1993, the V Foundation for Cancer Research.
Okay.
And that was a result of one of our commentators, Jim Valvano,
Yes.
who had been a basketball coach at North Carolina State, was a commentator for ESPN. And he had a lot of charisma. And he suddenly had cancer throughout his body.
Yes.
And he talked about the need to raise more money for research. And so our president and we suggested starting a foundation for cancer research.
Okay. Well, ESPN is not just a corporate business thing. They do other ventures with the foundation as well.
Yes. So the foundation, with ESPN support, has raised $120 million since 1993, and $100 million has gone out to various cancer centers for research, a variety of cancers. And because we established an endowment which pays for the operating costs, 100% of donations go directly to research. So we're very proud of that.
Yes. Okay.
And we just had Jimmy V Week, where we promote the V Foundation and Jim's messages, don't give up, don't ever give up, we promote those messages across our media. And usually we raise about $1 million through that effort each year.
And you also have the basketball tournament at
Yes.
the same time as
Yes.
well.
The Jimmy V Basketball Classics
Yes.
at the Garden, and also here in Connecticut. Maryland played the University of Connecticut at the XL Center.
Okay.
And Gino Oriema is very supportive, as is Jim Calhoun, of the V Foundation efforts. But we're involved with numerous charities, the Boys and Girls Club. We've just made $1 million commitment for a new facility in Bristol. Make-A-Wish. We renovate many facilities. Our employees volunteer at soup kitchens. We are going through our holiday programs right now of collecting clothing, adopting families, adopting children, Toys for Tots, many, many activities for our people. So corporate outreach is three things. It is corporate giving, financial giving by the company,
Yes.
volunteerism, which is really special, where our employees are going out in the community and renovating and painting and helping out. And then the third one is cause marketing, which is primarily our V Foundation efforts on our media, where we're trying to raise money. But we also have a very big veterans initiative to support our troops and our veterans.
Well, it seems like to me many people don't realize everything that ESPN consists of. You know, we get the impression that it's just about sports and broadcasting, but there's a lot of other areas that ESPN is tremendously involved in.
Yes.
And, go ahead.
We don't want to pat ourselves on the back. Like in the early years, actually for the first a decade and a half, we did not promote what we did. We supported the Giamatti Little League Center in Bristol. We've supported the Imagination Museum of the Family Center in Bristol, the Carousel Museum. We often did not promote what we did because we were not looking for that pat on the back.
Yes.
But then we realized it appeared as though we weren't doing anything.
Right.
So we started promoting what we do.
Okay.
With balance.
With balance, yes,
Yes.
that's true.
Yes.
Now, your current position as Senior Vice President of Corporate Outreach, what does that consist of on a day-to-day level?
Wow, it's amazing. You say, well, wow, what do we do? But we get requests all the time for, would we give to this charity or that charity in towns from all over Connecticut, from the state. From our offices. We have several offices around the country. We have hundreds of employees working in New York, in Charlotte, in Texas, in Denver, in Los Angeles. So charities where those offices are located are requesting money. And then we get requests from national charities. And then also we have people in countries around the world, Brazil, Mexico City, London, and they too are looking for support for charities. So what we do, we try to always be fair, and we know that there are numerous charities that support, for example, disabilities. How can we support all of those charities? Well, what we do is we tend to support the ones that are connected to sports.
Okay.
So wheelchair games, Special Olympics for the mentally challenged, Wounded Warrior Games, so it's wounded veterans, amputees who are playing different sports. Okay. We've just started a program to support that.
Okay.
So we try to, because we can't be everything to everybody,
Yes.
we try to do things that make sense and connect with our brand and sports.
Well, that's very important that you said you can't be everything to everybody, because that's just a fact of life. You can't do everything to solve everybody's problem.
Right.
But what is your particular role on a day-to-day level throughout the week? What do you actually do throughout the week?
Well, yes, you asked me that question. I started answering and
Okay.
I digressed there. We get all of these requests. So I try to do two things. I try to look ahead at what is coming up. What are our major events that we will be supporting? So for example, the next up is Play for K, which is a women's cancer research activity during women's college basketball games, where fans and players are wearing pink. So I try to look ahead and work with employees on developing the plans for that event. So I have to keep focused on what's happening in a few months. And then we handle day-to-day requests. Then we have weekly meetings to review all the requests. We have a committee that looks at all the requests so that we can brainstorm about how we're going to handle those requests, because each of our employees on our team get these requests from all over the country. And then, to give you an example, dealing with issues that take place everywhere, whether it was Katrina, Japan, and unfortunately Newtown, Connecticut.
Yes.
So on Friday, on the phone with our corporate parent, the Walt Disney Company, looking at what was going on at Newtown, following that this past weekend. What are we going to do?
Okay. And does your position, you have a lot of decision makings on what actually would be implemented?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we tried to do, it's very challenging because immediately employees, people in the community want to support. How do they support? What do they do? You know, do they collect clothing? Do they bring food? And what typically happens is the Red Cross and or agencies in that community, maybe United Way or other agencies, they are usually there first on the ground. So there's, first of all, there's rescue by all the emergency personnel and the hospitals and so on. So there's rescue, there's relief, there's the grief counseling that's going on. The Red Cross is generally there on site very quickly. And they already have the means, and they have food, and they have the contacts for clothing, blankets. Now, for example, the Walt Disney Company provides plush toys to Red Cross chapters. They provide here to Connecticut. So the Red Cross already has some of these things for children, for the siblings, and they were giving these out at the memorial service to the siblings of these children. So we then tried to assess, because various funds will be set up. Well, what will these funds do? How will they distribute the money? And remember 9/11?
Yes.
A lot of money was collected, but it was not distributed very quickly. How is it going to be distributed? How will things be assessed? So we, everyone wants to rush and do something, but there is an assessment period of what are the needs, what is the money being collected for. So hopefully today, we will have more decisions on what we will be doing. It will be a clearer picture.
Well, it sounds like to me the foundation has the same obligations and criteria that a grant would have, like the money exactly has to go design what it's intended to do?
Exactly. When our brand, an ESPN brand, it's a big brand, and when we endorse a nonprofit, we want to make sure that it is in good standing. How are they funded? How do they distribute their money? Who's on their board? We want to see a very good track record. I also look at diversity on the board.
Yes, you do.
Absolutely. And so we want to make sure that the charity is in very good standing, and the fund, and how is it going to work. Because when our name is on it, and we are contributing, our employees are contributing, and or the public looks at what ESPN is supporting, we want to make sure that the money's getting to the right places and the right people.
Okay. Well, you said recently that ESPN awarded it, and I did read about this, $1 million to the Boys and Girls Club in Bristol.
Yes.
What is that money actually going to be designed to do?
It's designed to help with construction of a brand new facility. The facility that they are in is about 100, I believe it was built in the 1930s. You know, Hartford was the first Boys and Girls Club in the country.
Okay.
And so Bristol was shortly thereafter. So the facility they're in is very dilapidated. And this will be a brand new facility that will just energize the community. And it will have an impact for centuries to come, and for the little boys and girls. It is so important that we have safe environments for our children, and that they learn and that they are active. Obesity is such a major issue in our country. And so we love the Boys and Girls Club programs because they do sports, they do activities, they keep these children active, and they learn.
Will there be like a partnership from ESPN with the Boys and Girls Club throughout the years?
Yes, we actually do many, many events with the Boys and Girls Club. Our employees are there just about every week running various programs at the club. And at the Imagination Museum, I will tell you, if your viewers have not been there, the Imagination Museum in Bristol is a wonderful place for children to learn. There's actually an ESPN Sports Center booth where they can do video of themselves at the Sports Center desk. So it's a wonderful facility. So we have employees there all the time, volunteering and helping. With the construction of this facility, we are helping the Boys and Girls Club raise more money, get more corporate support and individual support to build this facility. And hopefully, we hope that they will break ground in the spring of 2013. Okay.
Now, your position, do you spend a lot of time in the office or do you spend a lot of time traveling throughout the country?
Both.
Both.
I'm in the Bristol office, the New York office, usually 1 or 2 days a week for meetings. And then I attend numerous events and meetings. I go to fundraising events around the country for the V Foundation and also many industry meetings. I'm very involved in the cable industry.
Okay. Sounds like it's not a typical 9-to-5 job, though. Like
No.
you could be working pretty much throughout the whole day and nights.
Oh, yes. Often driving home 7 o'clock at night, even 8 o'clock at night, depending. And especially if there's an issue that breaks. So, for example, one of the first things we did with Newtown, and also we have an office in Denver, when the Aurora, Colorado situation happened, you want to check right away whether your employees are safe. We had about 8 to 10 employees who live in Newtown, and we wanted to check. And fortunately, none of their children were directly impacted, but we know that they're hurting along with the Newtown community. And so we want to be supportive of them.
And I guess something like what took place in Newton, sometimes it's very hard to function the next day because you can't separate yourself sometimes from your position as a human being.
No.
Was that a difficult thing for you personally to do?
Yes, in fact, I remember 9/11 when that happened. You're stunned. Disbelief. You're saying, what happened here? I remember hearing the news and watching and seeing the second plane hit, and I'm saying, is this terrorism? Is this the first plane? You thought maybe some pilot error.
Yes.
The second one, now what was going on? And then because I've been involved in a great deal of crisis management throughout my career, I realized that I had to think, okay, how is this impacting us? So one of the first things I thought of, were any of our employees on those planes?
Okay.
So we checked with our travel department to get their records to see, and no one was on the plane. So then we said, were any of our employees in the buildings? And I made a mistake because we had no offices there, but I had forgotten that our New Jersey employees would come through that building.
Okay.
And then what we did, we suspended some of our programming. We carried ABC News programming. There were a number of initiatives and steps that we took in trying to we stopped all press releases going out. And we wanted to be sensitive. We stopped press releases on Friday.
Okay. ESPN is a very secured facility. I guess that changed a lot after 9/11.
Yes. People used to be able to walk on campus freely. It is now very gated with a lot of security. And unfortunately, anyone, could walk on Discovery Channel. Had a situation with someone coming into the facility. Unfortunately, that is our world. And so we have to keep our environment safe.
Yes. Well, your position, I mean, do you see a next chapter that you would like to move to, or are you pretty much satisfied with where you're at right now?
I have had a really rewarding, blessed career.
Okay.
And what I love about it is most of my focus today is on giving back.
Okay.
And that's such a good feeling, to have some legacy of our giving back, whether it's the V Foundation for Cancer Research, and cancer affects so many people, and or the Boys and Girls Club. I have such a good, warm feeling of satisfaction. I will continue to be involved with ESPN. I serve on several boards, and I do some consulting, mentoring. So I think I will always be busy, but I am very satisfied with where I am.
So you see retirement as an employee for ESPN?
Soon.
Okay.
Soon, but they do want me to be available and consulting. They want me to continue to serve on the board of the V Foundation. I'm also on the board of the University of New Haven, which I love working on that board. It's a university on the move and a very diverse university. I love that college. I love what President Steve Kaplan is doing there. They just built the Henry Lee building for forensic science.
Yes.
One of the best in the world. So it's a fabulous institution.
Okay. Now you mentioned in the past Jimmy Valvano, Jimmy V. Basically, I know he's very good friends, or he was very good friends with Dick Vitale.
Yes.
Now, he's one of my favorite sports announcers. I love his voice. I love his passion that he has, for not just for sports, but in life general.
Right.
Has you been able to meet Dick Vitale?
Many times. I knew him when he came on board, and I couldn't believe his passion and enthusiasm. And what is amazing is that it's the same, and it continues. He's just had to be careful of his voice. He had some surgery on his vocal cords, so he has to limit the number of games. But he has the same passion and energy as he did in that first year. And he cares. He has done so much for pediatric cancer research. He has raised roughly $1 million a year for cancer research for children. He's just amazing, and he's very supportive of the V Foundation. And one little point of interest too, Jim Valvano was an assistant coach to D. Rowe at the University of Connecticut early in his career.
Early in his career, yes. And also, I believe Dick Vitale was a coach for the Detroit Pistons.
Yes, he was.
and he got fired.
He got fired, yes. So, yeah, now he doesn't have to worry about wins and loss records.
Well, he's a tremendous sports announcer. He does college basketball, and I think he brings a lot to the table.
He does. A lot of people think, whoa, he's so enthusiastic. What they don't realize is sometimes, I think they see it come through on the air, is what a giving heart of gold he has.
Now, is that a good part about your position, that you can meet and interact with people like that?
Yes, yeah. I'll tell you one person that I know very well, Robin Roberts, is a good friend. She serves on the board of the V Foundation for Cancer Research. Robin is the same behind the scenes as she is on the air. And we love her, and we support her in her fight against cancer.
Yes. Well, it's like you raised a lot of money for the cancer research. You said $130 million, I believe. And
yep, we're on our way to that number, yes.
Oh, okay. Where would you like to see ESPN continue to go at with the foundation over the next 10 years?
Cure cancer.
Okay.
In our lifetime, 1 out of every 2 men and 1 out of every 3 women will get cancer.
Okay.
And this is not just, the basic skin cancers are not included in that. Melanoma is included, but not the basic skin cancers. Those statistics are high. We are making huge projects, particularly with the Human Genome Project, where they're mapping, the DNA and cells and genes. So we're making progress, but there's so many nuances and angles and chemistries of people's body. So the scientists, the researchers, are making very, very good progress. But we need to do more.
Yes.
And if people are interested, they should go to jimmyv.org, and they can find out more information. We have a world-renowned scientific review committee of doctors that make the decisions on where these research grants go, to young researchers who are just starting out, to scientists that are working on translational grants from the research lab into the clinic, to major projects where we have universities collaborate. So for example, University of North Carolina and Duke, great competitors on the basketball court. We force them, they're both great in breast cancer research, we force them, the foundation forced them, we would give them a grant if they collaborated on breast cancer research.
Yes. Now, you mentioned breast cancer research. Many times that gets a lot of funding, but you don't hear much about prostate cancer.
I'm glad you asked that question. I have been a voice for that. You do see so much about breast cancer. And actually, the number one cancer for women right now is lung cancer.
Okay.
And it is often cancer in women who have not been smokers.
Yes.
So that is number one. Certainly breast cancer is still important. Prostate cancer, because ESPN reaches so many men, we did a project for a year and a half called On the Line, and it was all about prostate cancer and steps to take in consulting with your doctors about prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. So I think you're going to see more and more about prostate cancer. So we do have an initiative, and it is a major focus of ours.
Well, that sounds very encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we just have run out of time. This half an hour went by so fast. I think you did bring a lot of important information about the foundation. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed having you on the program this morning, and I wish continued success with the foundation.
Thank you. Thanks for your interest, Jonathan.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Again, this is Jonathan Small, host and producer of All About You, a weekly program designed to have the guests give their life story. I enjoyed doing this segment this morning, and until the next time, I wish everybody the best. Thank you.